All right, it seems like we are live. Fantastic. We've already got a couple of people in the stream. I'm going to just kind of let this sit for a little bit, and when we get a few more people in, we're gonna kind of get this going. All right. I do see it. The few link is posted. Let's see. Let's get on Twitter real quick. Make sure everything's. Can I share from here? Not sure. All right. Yo, what up, world traveler Dongbei? All right. Been a while, man. Been a while. All right, here. Let me post something here. Okay. I am live on YouTube right freaking now. Come and check it out. www.youtube.com/user/AustinGidry2. Bam. All right, everything should be up and going. All right, well, let's get going. Okay, we got 5 people, and we got about 5 or 6 questions. We're just gonna do whatever. But yeah, I would like to focus mostly on traveling or teaching stuff. Because things are a little better if you have a theme. So let's get into it. How long have I been living in China? I've been living here since 2011. So it's been about 7 years now. 7 years in China. So it's been quite a ride. I was in Lanzhou, up in Gansu province in the northwest for about 3 years. And then I was in Tianjin for about a year. And then I've been in Chengdu for about 3 years. So that's about how it works. All right. So, yeah, it adds up to 7 years. Okay. Now, what are the best 3-hour or less bullet train destinations from Chengdu? That's actually a fantastic question. I do need to pull up the map real quick in order to answer that. So let me pull up Chengdu on the map and see. It is awesome. It is the largest pre-modern statue in the world. You know, it's this giant, I think it's sandstone. This is that red kind of easily sculpted stone. I think it's sandstone, but it's an enormous thing. And Leshan itself is actually pretty cool. Like there's New Leshan, which is kind of like it's nothing really special. It's a lot like your kind of typical Chinese small town, but like old Leshan is really awesome. It's very hilly, and it's I don't know. You can just kind of see its age, and it feels. I don't know, old Leshan. It feels old, and it's more traditional, and there's just a lot more interesting stuff. All the best food is in old Leshan, and it's just the streets are kind of narrow and they're covered with trees, so you know you can get shade from the sun, and there's not a ton of tall buildings, and it's more residential. Like I really like old Leshan, so that'd be one of them. I'd say another one would probably be Dujiangyan. Dujiangyan is a pretty cool spot as well. Like the irrigation system is a really interesting place to check out. It's the I think it might be the oldest man-made kind of irrigation system that's still up and running in the world. It's like 2,000 years plus years old. It's really cool. It's a very green city. It's small, but it's got a nice vibe to it. There's a sort of ancient town there, but it's more just a pedestrian shopping street. But the architecture is kind of cool. It's a little bit different than what you would get in Chengdu. I've been there a number of times up to do Jiangyan, so that's fun. And let's see what else is around here. I don't know if I've only been to. There's another place called Zigong that I've only been to once, very briefly, but I really did enjoy it. It's so let me type those in the chat right now. So I'd say Dujiangyan, Leshan, and the other one. Oh, Zigong. Best under destinations. Zigong is a really interesting place because like Zigong is home to one of China's largest salt mines, if not the largest, and it sits on top of one of the largest salt deposits in China. And they have a really interesting salt museum. It's very interactive. They have a lot of displays and shows you like how they mined throughout the years, and they have all these little models. You can crank up these things, and shows how they like hammered down into the earth and how they scooped out the earth and the salt, and how they. Well, I mean, it's just very cool. And they also have like a dinosaur museum because they're well known for their fossils. And there's a lot of like parks and nature reserves around Zigong. And Zigong is also kind of like built up on the mountains. And there's a couple of rivers that run through it. So it's kind of cool to see like buildings scaffolded onto the mountains. It's kind of like Chongqing in that way, but it's very, very small. It's famous for great food, like spicy food, and also like their rabbit. Their rabbit dishes are really, really nice. They cook rabbit better there than I think they do in Chengdu, at least the little bit that I've had. Very, very nice. So yeah, that's what I would say. Those three: Dujiangyan, Leshan, and Zigong. All right, we're getting more questions. We got about 15 people in, so fantastic. Let's do this. Okay. How is traveling with the in-laws? Is it quite different to traveling with your American parents? I haven't done much traveling with my in-laws. I don't think we've ever like really gone to many places together. We've gone to a few, and it's fine. I'd say the only like real difference, I suppose, would be like the language barrier. That's about it. But I mean, I can talk to them if I like. But I think that might be the big difference, because when people travel, they do a lot of the same thing. They like to take photos, and they like to just talk about what's around and places that they've been before that remind them of this place. And I mean, so I don't think traveling is all that different, at least with my American parents versus my Chinese parents. I don't think it's that different, other than like language stuff. So yeah. Let's see. I'm actually arriving on Sunday to visit my new job for a week. Where are you arriving? Are you arriving in Chengdu? Roman God 5. Are you arriving in Chengdu? Are you arriving in Beijing or Shanghai, Shenzhen? Where are you going? I can't really answer that unless I know where you are. Let's see. Tomorrow I'm heading to the Chinese consulate to get some items authenticated. What's it like having to redo the visa process every year? Well, actually, you don't have to renew your visa every year. You don't have to go through that process every year. If you're staying in China, then it's quite simple, because you don't have to do your visa stuff over and over again. What you do have to do is renew your residence permit, because like your visa just gets you into China. But once you are in China, you have to switch over to a residence permit. And on that residence permit, it'll say work, if you're working, or it'll say student if you're a student. So, because like a lot of these visas, like if you get a work visa, it'll say Z visa, good for 0 days upon entry. You're like, oh, that's weird. And so within 30 days, you'll have to get a medical check, and you'll have to hand in your passport to get your residence visa. And whenever that gets renewed, all you do is just, I think you just submit a photo or something, and then your passport, and then a photo, and then some money, like 400 kwai. That's it. Like, and you just hand those three things over to them, and then they take care of all that other stuff for you, because your information's already in the system. Like, you've already renewed your contract. I suppose your school will resubmit your work contract along with some other things, but on your end, you won't have to do much. It's pretty straightforward. Do you have any desire to leave China and move back to the U.S.? No. Why would I want to go back to the U.S.? That's ridiculous. Oh, that's ridiculous. With all the stuff that's going on in the U.S. right now, doesn't seem like a nice prospect. My wife was born in Zhejiang. I really want to travel or visit there next time. You should, absolutely. Zhejiang's a cool place. I wanted to go back sometime before starting my CELTA course, but I don't think I'll have time. Maybe a little bit later, because it's a cool spot. It's a cool spot. All right, let's see. Can Serbians work legally in China? Serbians. Yeah, I think so. I know a couple of Serbian guys here. I think they teach football. But yeah, I mean, they can work in China. I don't think anyone from Syria can work here, but I mean, I don't even know that for sure either. Yeah, Serbians. Yeah, you should be good. Is anti-American? No, I'm not talking political questions. That's not a good idea. China's not even appealing anymore. Well, okay, fine. Let's do whatever. I really love the show you had with the panel of uni teachers. Are you going to do that again? Yes, actually, yes. That is going to happen again. I have an idea for starting up, and I've already written out like a list of episodes, as well as kind of a concept, a mission statement for the show. I'm just going to start up like a Teaching in China podcast, where like I get some people from universities and some people from training schools, and maybe some people from like kindergartens or middle school, high schools, or maybe some of the same people for all of them, because a lot of us have worked in training schools and universities before. Maybe not so much middle school or high schools, but yeah, it is definitely something I want to do, because I thought that was a really interesting concept. Bring all these teachers together, talk shop, just like we always do, because we talk about this stuff all the time, but it's never on camera, and you don't really get to see how people think about teaching here. So yeah, I'd really love to do that. That's going to be, I'll probably do that in the first week or two of September. I'll start recording those, and then put them out once I have a few episodes up. Let's see. Wow, there's quite okay. All right. See, I know you studied history. I think you studied history in school. I did. So did any perspectives of Chinese history change after living there and traveling to the historic sites? So like reading about history in a book in the USA versus actually traveling in China and seeing that history. Well, I don't think it really changes that much, except it makes it so much more real, and you can empathize a lot more with and you can kind of put yourself in the shoes of those people who were there. Like it just makes it more real. Like it doesn't change the way you look at history. It just changes, or it doesn't change the history itself. It just changes like it lessens that distance. It's kind of like, studying Chinese in the USA and then getting to China and then, whoa, this is this is actually a real thing. Like the Chinese is actually a real thing. Like it's alive and it's living, and I have to adjust myself all the time, and I have to. So you feel that kind of same way about history, like because when you visit a a war memorial or an old fortress or something, of course it's not the same as it used to be. Like it's also changed over the years, and but you can get a small insight into that. It's kind of hard to explain, I guess. It just makes it a little more real. It lessens that distance um, between the page to life. So let's see. Have you met many? Have you met foreigners holding interest? I guess nobody's talking about. Okay, let's see. Have you met foreigners holding interesting jobs in China besides teaching? I hope to work there in aerospace someday. In aerospace, I doubt it. The military controls the airspace here. I don't think they would let a foreigner in for any aerospace work. I doubt that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people here doing, I mean, countless numbers of stuff. I've met people here who do like kind of what I consider boring work, like HR. I've met people who are engineers here. They advise Chinese engineers as they build up these huge skyscrapers. I've met football coaches. I've met math teachers and besides teaching, I've met videographers and filmmakers, and I've met there's so many different things going on here. There's a lot of like freelance work available to people working at VR companies, like developing software for VR games and experiences. So that's cool. And people working in IT, like at Texas Instruments, or working at BMW or like car companies. I mean, and then there's a guy I know who works on the like electrical grid as in sort of an advisory role. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunities if you know where to look. So let's see. Political question. Nope. Let's see. What would you do? What would you do if you couldn't stay in China? I'll get back to that. Is it possible to get vegan food in China? Ooh, vegan food. Mr. Engineer CO. Yeah, vegan food is a thing here. It's hard to find like a truly vegan dish with no like non-vegan sauce or with vegan sauces and vegan everything. That's a tall order because like you don't necessarily know what's going in your food at a restaurant. Even if you say I don't want any meat, sometimes they'll put meat in it, or I don't want any animal products, and they'll still use Jijing or like chicken bouillon or whatever. Like if you want to be vegan here, you best cook at home, especially if you're going to be in like a smaller city, like maybe somewhere like I guess Chengdu has a few vegan options. There are a few vegan restaurants, but not too many. I can think of like 3 or 4. But maybe like Shanghai and Hong Kong, and I saw a lot of vegetarian places in Hong Kong and Shanghai. So maybe those places. But yeah. So I've been living in Chengdu for 4 years now. This is Samuel Wilson. I'd love it here too. Absolutely. You live down in Yuling, right? Yeah, I think I might have passed you once or twice. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Absolutely. Say hey next time. Tailored perspective. What are some of the nicest cities you've been to? I'll be headed to Xiamen and hoping for the best. Well, cheers, bud. Good luck. The nicest cities. Well, the thing is, like, nice. That's a very vague word. Nice cities. Like my favorite. I mean, I could just say my favorite cities. I mean, of course, my favorite city has to be Chengdu because I live here. I've made my home here, right? And I also really love Chongqing. Chongqing is a really fun city. I also, let's see, I gotta look at a map. I've been to so many places. I gotta figure out where have I been that I really liked. Let's see. I really like Xi'an. Xi'an is a cool spot. It's up in the northwest, so it's a very different kind of vibe. I really liked Dunhuang up in like really far north Gansu, where the Mogao grottos are located. Dunhuang is a really really cool, like very small town. Like, it's an oasis city. So when you're in Dunhuang and you get up somewhere high, you look around, all around you, 360 degrees all around you is complete desert. Everything is completely barren. Nothing is anywhere. But then get, when you look at the city itself, it's just this patch of green out in the middle of this wasteland. Like, it's one of the few true like oasis cities that I've ever been to. Like, it's an amazing sight just to see desert, 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 green, just right there. It just starts like that because there are some natural springs that run up under the city and provide the city with water. And if you've seen some of my really old videos from like 2014, I think was when I went there, you'll see that city. That's really cool. I also really love. I liked Jiangye. Jiangye was a cool town. Lanzhou. I loved living in Lanzhou. I was there for 3 years. It was a great experience for me. Though I hear Lanzhou started building a subway and trying to do all this infrastructure work. So maybe Lanzhou is not the best place to visit right now. And it's also been flooding in Lanzhou recently. There's been a lot of flooding, surprising, since it's a desert, like a high desert environment. But whatever. I mean, so yeah, those are a few that I'd have to say. Okay. Uh, let's see. I'm looking to work in Xiamen at the Eagle School. Okay, well, good for you. All right. It's literally the best looking city in China. Okay, in my opinion. All right. Yeah, sure. I mean, it is a nice seaside. It's got a nice seaside vibe to it. I haven't been there. Um, I've heard very, very different opinions about Xiamen. I've heard people who've lived there and they just never shut up about how much they hate the city, because it's just overrun with tourists. But I also hear people talking about how much they loved Xiamen. Yeah, the things I hear about Xiamen is like their transportation infrastructure is not fantastic, so it's not that easy to get around. And then I hear that yeah, it's just overrun with tourists, so you don't find a lot of like super like local places, and that drives the cost of living way up. So I'm not sure. Okay. Hi, Austin. So if you're doing this is from Shay O'Sullivan. Okay. If you were doing a CELTA, does that mean you'll stop working in university and start working in a training center? No, 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 no. I'm still going to be working at universities. I've got no interest in working at training centers. Like, for those of you who don't know what a CELTA is the certificate for English language teaching or for adults. It's an entry level certificate that I probably should have gotten a long time ago, but it's the most widely recognized and kind of strongest and most rigorous certificate course that you can get. It's pretty much mandatory in Europe if you want to teach anywhere, and it's becoming more and more recognized throughout like South America and Asia. So I feel like education is kind of changing here, and the way that and laws are sort of changing here. And that, sorry, my nose is really itchy. I feel like you will have to have more of these certifications in the future, and you will have to be able to prove that you are kind of standing out above out above the crowd and stuff if you want to stay here and teach long term. And that's probably not going to be for the next 5 or 6 years, but I feel like in the next 5 or 6 years, there's probably going to be a really, really big change. And there also is life after China. I don't necessarily intend to move back to the U.S., but I don't feel like I will stay here forever. So I feel like getting that certification plus post CELTA teaching, and then going on to get a DELTA, which is a diploma in English language teaching for adults, which is essentially equivalent to a master's degree in that area. As far as I know, that's the highest certification you can get. So I would, it's just another credential for me to get. It's not that I want to stop working at universities. It's just that I'm looking to kind of improve myself and do a little bit better, add something to my resume, and maybe you get a few tools. Okay, there you go. S617, why are you skipping all my questions? Well, I'm skipping your questions because they're political. I'm not answering political questions. That's stupid. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So I'm looking. Okay. God, wow, there are a lot of comments, man. All right, let's see. Are freelance workers there on a tourist visa then? Yeah, freelance workers are usually on a tourist visa, or they'll be on a like a short-term business visa of some kind. Jason, is Mandarin easy to learn for an English-speaking person? Mandarin Chinese. So I think for learning Chinese, the initial learning curve is very, very, very steep. But I think once you learn a few basic things and you get those few basic things down, you're good to go. Like if you can get down the 4 tones, if you can get down a few basic characters and learn to start recognizing radicals, I think you'll be good to go. But yeah, especially those 4 tones, those take a little while to get kind of used to. And once you start, once you kind of figure those out and they become sort of natural, then it'll be really easy to improve. There are a few patterns in the language, so a few grammatical patterns. But once you figure that out, you'll improve a lot. You'll improve a lot faster. Hey, World Traveler's having a Dr. Pepper. All right. Where can I find universities that offer Chinese painting summer classes? Oh, geez, I have no idea. Xiamen is the cleanest city in China. Well, have you been to every city in China? I don't think that's an easy statement to make. You haven't been to every single city in China, but it might be one of the cleanest. Let's see. Do travelers just coming to Sichuan die from the spice? How long does it take to get used to on average? Look, I got to be honest, man. And I've had this conversation with numerous foreigners here. Food here's really not that spicy. It's really not that spicy. And a lot of people that I know, we don't really understand where this reputation comes from for fiery Sichuan cuisine. Don't really get it because most of the places that you go to, all they do is they just add a couple of scoops of pepper oil, and it kind of gives it a red color and maybe a little bit of spice. But most food here is just not spicy. You might go to out for chuan chuan or hot pot or something like that. That is going to be spicy. Or if you go have you can go to restaurants that specialize in spicy food. I don't know, there's a place called La de Tiao, for example, which is so spicy it'll make you jump. Sure, that'll be spicy. And and like I said, hot pot or chuan chuan or something like that. But most local joints aren't spicy; they're just not. And I've taken quite a few people out to local spots to have food, like people who are visiting me or visiting Chengdu, and I happen to meet up with them. And I take them out, and they're like, "Wow, this food's actually really, really great. It's not all that spicy." Well, no, yeah, it's not. There are a few dishes and a few places in Sichuan that will be spicy. Like you go to Zigong, like Zigong's food is spicy, or it certainly can be. So, yeah. But on the whole, I don't think it's really a big deal. Let's see. All right. See, I mentioned because I heard university job requirements. So yeah, university job requirements becoming more restrictive. I suppose I think that hasn't really happened yet, unless you're at a more competitive kind of university, a more competitive city. But on the whole, I don't think it's done that yet. I do think in the next probably 2 to 5 years, things are going to be a little bit more competitive because they're tightening up visa requirements. They're tightening up so many like laws and loopholes and things like that for people to come into China. They're really trying to filter out kind of the riffraff and the people that they don't want, which I respect, but I don't think it's. I think it's just going to create a black market for work, people on tourist visas and stuff like that. Let's see. What's it like getting married in China? Are there certain ceremonies or customs that are unique in China? In a lot of places in China, but especially in Sichuan, something that you do that's a little different is they have this thing called a tea ceremony, where like you'll have the bride and groom over here, then you'll have the new kind of you should have all the parents sitting around in chairs in a semicircle, kind of facing the new bride and groom, facing out towards the crowd or whatever. And then the groom will go up to the bride's parents, and then he will say, "Mom, Dad, please drink some tea," and they'll drink the tea, and then I will drink tea as well, and then they give you a little hongbao, a little red packet, and then the bride will go up to the groom's parents and do the same thing. "Mom, Dad, please drink tea," and they'll drink it, and then she drinks tea as well, and then red packet, and because that kind of marks them coming together for the first time, calling the in-laws mom and dad for the first time. It's like a formal recognition of them becoming part of the family. So yeah, that's something that's different in a lot of weddings. But like I said, especially here in Sichuan, that's a big thing. Okay, Marshall Matt Dillon. Can rookies teach adults, or you must start at elementary level? You can start wherever you want. Whoever's going to give you a job. I think teaching adults is easier. Personally, I would rather teach adults. But I mean, it all comes down to your personality. I taught kids for maybe 8 or 9, 10 months, something like that. And it took me about a month or two to like kind of figure out the learning curve and figure out how to shape lessons and how to manipulate the activities that I already kind of knew in the games I already knew for a younger crowd, so to speak. But it became pretty easy after a little while. I think teaching adults I would say it's easier to skate by teaching adults. But if you want to being a mediocre teacher is really easy. Being a mediocre or being a bad teacher is really easy. But being a good teacher takes a lot of work no matter what age you're teaching. It takes a lot of preparation. It takes a lot of research and planning. It's being a good teacher is difficult no matter what level you're teaching. Okay, let's see. Can I make a living in the IT field in China? Yeah, absolutely. I know people who do that. There's a huge IT expat community here in Chengdu that live down in the south. This place called the Software Park, and out in the high tech zone. There's a high tech zone here. Yeah, there's lots of opportunities. Sure, IT, go for it. What VPN you're using? Nope, not touching that. You're learning Linux. Okay, well, good for you. Let's see. What advice do you give to new people moving to China for the first time? New people, first time moving in China. Do your research. That probably is the number one. Do the research. You really need to figure out where you want to live, first of all. Like, what kind of city do you like? Do you like living in small towns? Do you like, don't eat the food, it's all fake? That's bullshit, Mike. Sorry. That's bullshit. Don't just pick plastic rice was a thing only in like one city. Yeah, that was such a small scandal. That was not a big deal. Anyway, I would say you got to really think about, do I want to live in a small town? Do I want to live in a big city? Do I want to live in a place that has a lot of art or has a lot of music, or a place that has a lot of food, or or do I want to live in a place that has more like tea houses, or a place that has more of an international vibe? Do I want to live in a place that is all new or is completely traditional? Like, you got to think about what kind of place you want to live in. And then from there, I would recommend joining some kind of China expat group on Facebook or on whatever social media you happen to be on, and just start asking questions. Do research on the major cities throughout China and see if any of those sound appealing. And then from there, you can just do something like get on Wikipedia and start looking for like universities or the names of middle schools or high schools if you're going to be teaching. Just do your research. That would be number one. Number two, when you actually come over here, bring some medicine, bring some things like, because the food here in China is very, very different. So I'd bring some kind of antacid maybe, or some kind of anti-diarrhea something or other. I'd say bring that, because no matter who you are, unless you're from a place that has like really, really hardcore food, you're going to get sick at some point during the first week or two. And then after about a month of living here, you'll be fine. And if you're a big person like me, if you're a big guy, bring lots of clothes, because you won't be able to buy clothes here. Let's see. Next. Do I ever plan on moving back to the States? I think I answered that one. Ever is a long time. Forever is a long time. Is it difficult to gain the respect of in-laws being a Western-born person? I don't think so. Can I get by being a mediocre teacher? Yeah, you can, sure, but do you want to? Do you want to be just a mediocre teacher? Is that really how you want to spend your life? Is that really how you want to spend like a year? And like, when you're teaching, remember these are people that you're teaching. A lot of people just talk about, these students. They don't think of them as people. These are actual real people that you're teaching. And you have a responsibility to those people who are paying tuition fees and who are spending their time and money in your class. Do you really want to just be a mediocre teacher? I don't. I don't. I want to be a great teacher. I want to, when people look back on my classes and they remember me and who I am, I want them to remember me as like a really great person, a great person and a great teacher who stimulated their thoughts and their interests and allowed them to grow. And that's how I want to be remembered. I don't want to be remembered as just, oh, he was just this guy that, he was just a teacher I had a while back. It's not really a big deal. I don't want to be remembered like that. Yeah. Okay. My roommate of grad school in town. Let's see. The best way to make friends when first moving to China. Well, it's been a while since I first moved to China, so that's kind of a hard question. I would say when you first move, if you are, let's see. Well, there's a couple of things. If you're coming over here to be a student, meeting people is going to be super easy because you will already be in classes. You'll already be in classes, and you'll likely be at a university, so it'll be very easy to meet locals by going to something like an English corner. It'll be very easy to meet locals by just going out to any of the restaurants. And that's a little more complicated. But yeah, so if you're going to be studying, that's very easy. If you're going to be just living as, if you're going to be working, that's a little bit more challenging. I would recommend joining up in some expat groups first, just so you can kind of find your footing. And then once you kind of find your footing and kind of figure out kind of the city, then once you figured out the city, then you'll kind of know where to reach out. You'll know where to go from there as far as meeting local people. But yeah, I would say you're reaching out through like expat groups on WeChat or on things like that. You'll see. Okay. Is there anything like the American craft beer industry in China? Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's plenty of craft. Well, I wouldn't say plenty. There's a few craft beer places around here in Chengdu and around Sichuan. There's a place in Chengdu that makes its own gin. There's lots of cities around Sichuan that make baijiu. Hold on a second. So I just went to come on. So I went to this place a couple days ago. Some of you, if you follow me on Instagram or on my Facebook page, you'll see that I went to this kind of ancient village. It wasn't really like, how do I say this? When you think of ancient village or ancient town, like you think of like these tourist spots where just people go, and it's not really a place where locals live or where locals go. But no, like I went to this village out in the middle of nowhere here in Sichuan, and it was just a village that happened to be ancient. Because like there were plenty of people, plenty of locals moving around, and and one of the things they do there, if I can even show this, is boom. Oh, nope, can't see it. Too bad. I was going to show you some photos from my phone, but I guess that's not going to work. Oh, okay, there it goes. So we actually we found a local baijiu factory where they actually make their own baijiu. And some of these, like, you see, these are actually buried in the ground right here. And this guy right here actually got out a couple of like earthenware bowls and just dipped some right out of the pots for me and my couple of friends to try. So and I didn't expect that in this tiny village of maybe like 1,000 people or less. A place like this, even they are making their own baijiu. So yeah, I would say that it's definitely a craft thing, because it's a very small building. It's just a couple of rooms, but even in the midst of all this history, this is one of the things. And I bought a little bottle right here this place called Gao Miao. So Gao Miao Baijiu. So it's pretty cool. And this was only 10 yuan. So it's not a lot, but it's a cool bottle. It's a nice little souvenir. But yeah, a lot of places do make their own baijiu. And you'll see a few craft beer places popping up every now and then. So there you go. Let's see. Okay, my son lives there. You don't know who's small. Okay. Okay. Where do you meet students for private lessons? How do they pay? Any other logistical advice? As far as private students go, most people will get their private students just through recommendations from friends. So like your friend will just say, hey, I heard somebody's looking for a teacher, blah, 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 blah. And then, they'll just hook you up with a job. If you want, you can post on 58.com, or you can print out flyers. You can actually just print out physical flyers and just start posting them everywhere with your phone number or whatever, and then that'll be fine. Or you can just start spreading the word through your friends. Hey, I want to start doing some private work. If you hear anything, let me know. That's basically it. Let's see. Yixin Chung, why not partner with the Food Ranger? You two are my favorite YouTubers in Chengdu. Trevor is never here. That's the thing. Trevor's never in Chengdu. That's the big problem. He's off in Greece, or he's in India, or he's in Malaysia, or Indonesia, or Canada, or Guangzhou, or somewhere else. He's never here. That's the thing. But I haven't seen Trevor in like a year. I haven't hung out with Trevor in like a year. So that's it. That's pretty much it. Because I do like Trevor. He's a fun guy to hang out with. He's a good guy, but he's just never here. So there you go. What was your reason for taking? I saw another vlogger that's talking about something which is essentially Groupon for traveling. Any ideas about those tourism sites, scams, or worth it? Yeah, don't go Groupons with traveling. That is not good to go. That's not good to go. Don't travel with groups. Don't do that. It's not good because what's going to happen is you're going to be on a tour bus that is packed to bursting with a lot of loud local people in their 40s and 50s. And that demographic in China is not necessary. Well, I shouldn't say too much there, but yeah, you're going to be packed on a bus with a lot of middle-aged people. There's going to be literally a lady with a microphone shouting stuff to you about the place that you're going. You're going to have to wear matching hats or scarves, and then there are going to be a couple people around the group carrying a little flag for you to follow. You have to go every single place together. And they always kind of make you exit through the gift shop. They make you buy things, and it's not a good thing to do. So travel alone. I'm going to be doing a video in the next couple weeks about how to travel anywhere in China, because traveling anywhere in China is not as hard as you think it is. It's really not. You don't have to know very much Chinese to travel anywhere. Like these really deep places that I've been going recently, you don't have to know that much Chinese, which is kind of the stumbling block for a lot of people. One, they don't know how to even find those places, and then two, they don't know the Chinese. Well, I'm going to show you how you can do that. It's not that difficult, actually. So yeah, don't do that. Always travel. Equivalent is called Chinese equivalent of Google is called Baidu, and it's essentially just a Google Maps. So yeah, it's everything. You can just drop a pin anywhere, and you can get directions to wherever you're going. You can look up places to travel to. You can do just about anything. So yeah, there's that one, and then there's another one called AMAP, which is, I think it's better. Oh, I updated this one. I think it's better than Baidu Map. So I would definitely recommend this one. It's detailed. Oh, yeah, it's more detailed. It's got a lot more about public transportation. It's got a lot more like local scenery, I suppose, on it. It's a better map program. It's just called AMAP. It's all together. AMAP, AMAP. So, yeah, it's also the Chinese name is called Gaode Ditu. So, yeah. Let's see. Would my smartphone work over there if I just change out the SIM card? From tailored perspective, yes, it'll work. But the thing is, if you come over here with an American-made phone or European-made phone, I'm not sure about European, but with an American-made phone, a lot of times that phone will only, the problem is the 4G. The 4G, like the 4G won't work on an American-made phone unless you join a specific Chinese company, which I can't really remember what it is. And you're going to need to get your phone unlocked. If your phone is still locked to your network, then you have to unlock it before you come over here. Are the map apps in English? No, they're all in Chinese. Okay. Now, as far as okay, so this guy's still talking about Groupons. So Groupons are, I mean, it's an app. It's a thing. It's called Tuan Go, which literally means like group buy, and it is an app where you can get like different, basically discounts for different goods and services here in China, and that's fine. It's a great app actually. Like my wife and I use it quite a lot when we go out to eat and stuff. But the thing is, don't do it for travel. Don't do it for travel. Everything else is fine. Tuan Go is really good for things, but just not, I wouldn't do it for traveling. How often do you get turned away from hotels for being a foreigner? Not as often as you would think, actually. I know like Sea Milk and Winston, like Sea Milk and Serpent they love to talk about like how foreigners aren't allowed in hotels and things like that. Well, yeah, they are. Like there's a few chains that don't take foreigners, but really not that many. Like even in this, you remember that little village that I was just showing you? The little village out in the middle of nowhere? They accepted foreigners. It's fine. They didn't check our passports. They didn't look at anything. They just said, yeah, just come and stay here. It's fine. We don't care. Like even in a place like that, a little tiny village, yeah, fine, go for it. The only times I've had problems finding a hotel in places like in a place to stay has been in like Beijing. Like that's it. Because there are certain chains that don't allow foreigners, but most places are fine. Most places are completely fine. Like I'd say, in all my time in China, all 7 years, I've been turned away from maybe three or four hotels in all my 7 years. That's it. So it's really not a thing. It's really not a big deal. Not a big deal. Okay. Let's see. When a VPN server goes out and down, can you always find another server? Yes. Yeah, every VPN service has multiple servers, so it's good. Have you considered doing an MA TESOL? Yeah, I have considered doing a master's in TESOL. I already have a TESOL certificate. I'm going to be doing CELTA, which is just going to be another teaching certificate. But as far as MA TESOL goes, I don't think I'm going to do that specifically. I'm probably going to go for a Delta instead, which is the equivalent to a master's in TESOL because it's a diploma in English language teaching. and it's administered by Cambridge University, and the quality is always monitored and assessed pretty carefully. And I've looked at this issue when doing research for grad school, and they say, like, if you want to apply for a PhD in this or this, like, you need to have a master's degree in TESOL or have a Delta with this many years of experience. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll probably go the Delta route because it's much more flexible. Like, you would go in for like 2 or 3 weeks or something in class, and then you would go away for a little while and do your research and write your piece of research, and then you go back into class, and then you do this and that. So I'd probably go for a Delta instead. How long does it take to learn enough Chinese to be able to read a map? I don't know. Maybe 6 months. Well, because like reading a map, maps are big, right? Maps are big, and there's a lot of different places on these maps. Like, I don't think it's really fair to say, because like things on maps, they're place names, right? And place names they sometimes will have very specific characters, very special characters that are only used for place names. Like, you won't run into them in any other context. So that's kind of an issue. That's an issue with people's names as well. A lot of people's names, these characters are used only for names. But I'd say to get a good foundation in Chinese characters and a good foundation in vocabulary in order to be fairly confident reading a map, I'd probably say like a year. Probably like a year studying fairly hard, be all right. Or maybe a little less. Do hotels accept WeChat Pay? Yes. Everybody accepts WeChat Pay. Everybody accepts WeChat Pay. WeChat Pay is awesome. It's used basically everywhere. The only time in recent memory that I was not able to use WeChat Pay was on this last trip that I just got back from on Sunday night. When you take the bus from Chengdu to Hongya County, and then take the bus from Hongya County to Gaomiao Village, those two buses didn't take WeChat Pay because you pay on the bus after the bus is already set off, and they took cash only. But that was it. Everything else in my life, I'm able to pay with WeChat. It's totally fine. I've been studying Mandarin for 2 years. Do you think I can go to a university in mainland China or first study more Mandarin? Well, here's the thing. If you're going to go to a university in China, there are two options, or there are a few options. One, you take the course in English, fine. Two, you're going to take the courses in Chinese. But if you're taking the courses in Chinese, you first have to go through like a period of language study where they make you pass either the HSK 4 or the HSK 5 before you can actually do your coursework. So you might study Chinese for a semester and then pass the exam, or you'll study Chinese for a year and then pass the exam. Or you can pass the HSK 4 or 5 while you're still in the USA, and then you can come straight into China and start learning your courses in Chinese. So I would say figure out which university you want to study at, and figure out which courses you want to do, and if you want to do them in Chinese or in English. And then once you figure that out, you'll be all right, I think. But Mandarin in 2 years, of Mandarin abroad, I think is the equivalent to about 6 months of study here. because you don't have that same kind of learning environment. So I'd probably say come here and study Mandarin first for maybe a semester or for a year, and then jump into the, major courses. Are online options really viable in China? With things like the Delta or the CELTA, they absolutely are, because they're well, I would say they're much better if you're in Beijing or Shanghai, because those are the only cities that offer CELTA, Delta, and things like that. So I think there's one place that offers Dip TESOL. Maybe that's in Hong Kong. I'm not sure. But yeah, those are viable. But generally speaking, like if you want to do an online course here in China, like from a Chinese institution, that won't work. You'll have to go with a foreign institution. So like the one I'm doing it with is called Language Link China. Language Link specializes in those teacher training courses. So everything's been worked out already. So tennis guy again. What are the requirements to get a WeChat Pay account? I think you just have to have a passport and a bank account. That's it. Passport, bank account, phone number. You're good. So there you go. Passport, bank account, phone number. You can get WeChat Pay. Good to go. In the cities, do you notice that men far outnumber women? Is the gender imbalance bad in Beijing or Shanghai? I would say in Chengdu, there are lots of women here in Chengdu. The gender balance is very different here. There are a lot more women here than in other cities. So that's great, I guess, if you're a single guy. In Beijing or Shanghai, I think the gender imbalance is more visible in Beijing than in Shanghai. I think Shanghai, it's a little more equal. But yeah, you can definitely see it in Beijing. You can definitely see that imbalance. Yeah, big time. But in Chengdu, like you'll just be walking around Chengdu like, damn, there are a lot of women here. Do you ever send money back to the States? Yeah, I do. What I will do is I'll send money through something called Swapsy, the Swapsy. And basically, like you send somebody money on WeChat or on Alipay, you send them yuan, and then that person will take however much money that you sent them, and they'll send it to your PayPal account in dollars. It's pretty straightforward, but it's called theswapsy.com. The SWAPSY.com. Swapsy. So that's good. Let's see. Do I see myself returning to the USA? No, not really. I think I've answered that question quite a lot. No, it's Patrick. You're from Colombia. All right. Living in Costa Rica. Fantastic, man. Fantastic. I hear Costa Rica is nice. One of my friends is actually in Colombia right now. He's in Bogota. He's doing his CELTA in Bogota, actually. He starts in 6 days. I think he's in Medellin right now, looking around. Moving to Beijing soon. Study 3 years of semester in the U.S. I feel group classes are too slow for me. Okay to study online once I arrive, or bad idea? Study what online? Study Chinese online? Don't study Chinese online. Don't study Chinese online. Okay. Yeah, don't do that. Okay. Let's see. A video titled SpongeBob in China is very similar to your username Austin in China. Okay. I've actually noticed quite a few people have popped up, like their usernames have popped up recently, and they're very similar. It's like this person in China, because I'm in this group, one of many groups called YouTubers in China, and I've noticed like there's a lot of new people popping up with their name of like somebody in China, somebody else in China, somebody else in China. So, I mean, it is a natural, I suppose it's a natural thing, like, because you are this person, you are in China, so I suppose it's natural to come up with a name like that. Yeah. Bob Joe, it's astounding that a stream with only 22 viewers can have a troll. It's true. It's true. I did not know that you could hide people's comments, but if I had known that, I would have done that earlier. So I heard they already have 5G in China. I've heard that too, but I haven't seen it in action yet. I've not seen it in action yet. I have no idea how fast it is. 4G is plenty fast for me. I don't really see the need for 5G, but I mean, sure, go for it, I guess. But yeah. So look, guys, we are coming up on a little over an hour, and it's getting to be about lunchtime. So if you want to throw one or two more questions up, I'll answer those. But I think it's about time to wrap this up. I got to start the day. I got some studying I got to do. I've got some more reading I got to do for my CELTA that's coming up next week. So yeah, maybe one or two more questions, and we'll wrap this bad boy up. Okay. So where are you living now? From Samuel Bahamun Ate Portua. Wow, what a name. That is fantastic. Wow. Where are you living now? I'm living in Chengdu. I'm living in Chengdu, the capital of Sichuan province, southwest China. Okay. Yeah, definitely. So Marshall, don't study Chinese online. Group classes are good. You can also do one-on-one. One-on-one is fine. Learning Chinese is not expensive. It's not a huge expense. Like in Chengdu, you pay 100 yuan an hour or 150 yuan an hour for a Chinese teacher, like a good Chinese teacher. So, I mean, if you're in Beijing, probably double that. It's probably 200 or 300 because Beijing's a ridiculous city. But yeah, I mean, if you're living on a Beijing salary, it's not that bad. What do you work on? I teach at Sichuan University. I teach spoken English. My rent is 2,400 yuan a month. I've just moved about a month or two ago. So I should bust out one of those apartment tour videos, but I haven't done it yet. Yeah. Okay. Pimsleur Chinese. Pimsleur's all right, I suppose. It's not the best. I never understood how Pimsleur actually worked. I tried it and I just didn't I thought it was dumb. But I do know that it helps a lot of people. And I think they use Pimsleur for training people at like consulates and embassies in the USA. I think the US government uses Pimsleur for that. So, I mean, it works for somebody. Now I need my original degree, and it needs to be notarized. That's right. I'm in Vietnam now. I don't know how to get a degree notarized from abroad. Well, Armando, my advice to you would be, what would my advice to you be? Because you're in Vietnam now, like, what I might do, here's what I might do. If you were in Harbin, then you obviously know some people who are still living in China. What I might do is send your degree to China, get it insured and get it, like all that. Send it to China, get somebody to take it to a notary's office in China, get them to translate it and get the translation notarized and get the degree like verified. And then once that's all done, get them to send it back to you. And that should be enough for your employer. So that's probably what I would say. The other thing, I think, Armando, you can pay an agency to do all that for you. That's true. You can also just pay an agency. So I think that's about where I'm going to leave it. I might try and do these. I'm going to try and do these live streams more. I think I'd like to do these a little more. It'd be good. You can get it notarized at the USA consulate, but I don't think they'll recognize it because you also have to get a Chinese translation. It has to be notarized by a notary here in China. I got something notarized here. I don't remember what it was. I got something notarized here, and by the consulate, and then it was just not accepted. It was they said no, this is the American consulate. We're not taking that. So I mean, it's fine for me because I actually live in a town with a consulate, but yeah, if you don't live in a town with a consulate, don't do that. But I think I'm gonna leave the stream there because I'm getting kind of hungry. It's time for lunch, and my wife's about to go to work, and I want to actually talk to her this morning before she leaves. So thank you all.